Hello, and welcome back to another episode for the Project Seed Money podcast. I am your host, Sharissa Bradley, and I'm so excited to be joined today with author Neri Lopez. Thank you so much for being here. We met at the Women in Publishing Summit, and I just could not wait to get to interview you. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you. This is a pleasure.
Of course. So I happen to know a little bit about you because I got to talk to you at the conference a little bit, but I want to just talk as if I know nothing about you. And I wonder, have you always wanted to be an author?
No, when I was little, I wanted to be a graphic designer, first a teacher, then a graphic designer, and then an author was afterwards because my grandfather was an author back in Cuba, back in the early 1900s. He's actually a published author. So I've had my dream. I was a graphic designer when I got out of college, and then I went back to school, got my teaching certificate, taught for 7 years, and then now I'm hitting the third one, my third stride. Third
That's
career.
amazing. They're
Yeah.
all connected. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all one thing, right? Like
Yeah.
even writing stories, you're still in that education field. So it seems
Yeah.
all connected.
Yes. It's been a wild ride, but a very fun ride.
That's amazing. So what was the catalyst to start actually becoming an author and getting that first book in the world? And now you have several, but I wonder about like right at the beginning.
Before I had my kids, when I got married, we moved to Jacksonville. My family's in South Florida, and my husband's is in Delaware. So we moved to Jacksonville. There was no family around, and I got this great idea to write this book. So I started writing this book, and I just loved my characters. It was a Native American story. I actually went to convince my husband on our anniversary to go to a powwow up in South Dakota. And I wanted to sleep in the teepee. He said no, but we went out there and I just absolutely loved it. And I saw the culture and the people and just fell in love with, their sense of family and community. So I started writing the story and then I put it aside when I had triplets. And I kept telling people that someday I got to pick that book back up. Someday I got to pick that book. And when I first wrote it, it had, I hate to say it, but it had sex right from the beginning. And Harlequin and Silhouette did not accept those at the time. So I just kind of set it aside. And then 30 years later was when I picked it back up again because I stopped teaching. And my friend at school said, you got to get that book you were talking about and just get it out there. And that's kind of what pushed me into and I had like paper copies because the computer I wrote it on, by this point was dead. Like I didn't have that computer anymore. So all I had was a paper manuscript I had to re-enter. But it was great, and I found a person that his family members lived on Rosebud Reservation. So I was able to snail mail, write them letters and ask them about different languages and all that stuff. So I had done some little things along the way, but I never actually finished, the final draft of the book until 30 years later. So
What a
it was really cool.
journey.
Yeah,
What a
they were
journey.
really
And
nice.
you haven't stopped since. I mean, it sounds like from the
No.
time that first one happened, it
Yeah.
has been like a marathon of novels.
Every 3 to 4 months, I publish another one. So my first series is done. That one I'm totally done with. And then my second series, I guess you could say I'm kind of in the middle, not really. There's 9 and I'm writing book 4, but I took a break because mine are spicy. The first series is spicier than the second, but my daughter asked me to write something she could read. She can't read a romance novel that has, intercourse in it that her mom wrote. And I get that, totally get that. So I just finished the draft. It's actually at the editors for a clean romance. Actually, I'll show you the cover. It's gonna launch. Let me see if I can do this. So it's gonna launch in November at the end of this year. And it's about a young lady who's getting ready to turn 30. And it's a dating app and all the different, 12 dates. Her mom gives her an ultimatum and she has to, which my daughter's gonna be 27. So it kind of, and she's on a dating app. So some of the things I've pulled from what some people have said to her. So she actually proofed it first, and then now I've got it at the editors. So I'm looking forward to that one. That one's going to be a really cute one, and we're going to launch it in St. Augustine and it's going to be a fun one.
Oh, that's so cool. And I love that you're doing it for your daughter. We got to talk
Yeah.
about this a little bit at the conference and just like how you're making it so sweet so that there's still all these amazing fun and elements in it, but
Yes.
it's for like specifically so that she can read it. And I love that so much.
Yeah.
I wonder, since it's so different than what you were writing before, did you face any self-doubt in the writing process in your first, when you first picked up the book 30 years later, and then even in this sweet romance that you're writing? Did you feel any self-doubt as an author?
I do, and I still do every day. It's that I think they call it imposter syndrome, and I always question it. And then I've got my readers that read are like, no, 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 it's good. And but I think I'll always have that because unless I'm making, and I did this because I love to write, but unless I reach like Suzanne Collins or, some type of higher level, I don't know that I'll ever feel like I've made it or, So I just keep trying and I keep working. And my second series is a lot about police officers. So I do a lot of ride-alongs and I do role playing with to train their trainees. As a matter of fact, next week they just invited me to do a hostage takeover training. And I'm so looking forward to that. I worked with the bloodhounds hiding so the bloodhounds could find me. And so a lot of things I put in the series has to do with what I experienced with the police department. So it's been fun.
That is so cool. And it's such a good tip because it's like you're battling the self-doubt by doing the research and putting yourself in the position so that you don't have any reason to say like, oh no, this is true because I'm
Yeah.
experiencing it and learning it. And you're not just writing, nothing, right? Or fluff. It's
Right.
you're doing the actual research. So,
There. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to ask if you had developed any other tips like that to keep going through the self-doubt part of it. But I would love for you to finish your thought as well.
No, I was going to say there's parts of me that I incorporate in like every single book. Like there's a certain book where I'll put this piece in, or a certain book where I put that piece in. I think the best way to, as an author, to kind of keep yourself motivated is doing writing sprints with other authors. Because when you're an author, you're by yourself at a desk. Usually in a room with the door closed so nobody bothers you and a sign that says do not knock, that kind of thing. And so I have found that when I do writing sprints with other authors, we motivate each other. And then sometimes we bounce ideas off of each other. And it just kind of gets us, we know in that hour and a half, that one night, we're all going to write. Like it's just, it kind of gives it legitimacy because then you talk to each other about what you're doing. And, if you have an idea and you don't think it's a good one, then you can kind of bounce it off of someone else who might be in your similar situation. So that's been really good.
Oh, that's such solid advice. We need community, and it's so
Yes.
easy to get locked in those thoughts, the negative thoughts of like, imposter syndrome or whatever. But if you say it out loud and someone immediately is like, oh, nope, then it goes away. And you're not going to sit there and spiral with it for 30, 40 minutes. It's just going to go away.
That's right. When my friend had told me you got to go back in and publish that book, I went to a conference and one of my favorite authors, I say she's my favorite, Riley Edwards, she writes military romances and I love her books. And she was there with another author and I went up to her and I was like, "Oh my God, could we please take a picture? You're my favorite author." And she is. And she was so nice and gracious and we took a picture and I met a whole bunch of other authors and finally one of them said, "If you wrote a book, you need to just get it out there. Just that's the hardest step is just crossing that bridge and getting it out there." And I did, and I'm so glad I did it. And I didn't see Riley Edwards. I haven't seen her again at a book signing, but I did see one of the other authors recently in Orlando. And I told her, I said, it was Jamie Lewis. And I said, it's because you guys inspired me. And she was like, "Oh my God, wait, someday somebody will say you inspired them." So it's
Oh,
been a really good journey.
yes, the author community is so encouraging. I have not
Yeah.
met a single person who was
No.
like rude or nasty about the writing process. Like everyone is so willing to
Mhm.
share and help because the process itself of writing and pulling out is so hard that we
It is.
understand.
It is. It's hard. And then once you get it all down, if you self-publish like I do, then you got to find out how do you do that, and that's a whole other world that can be frustrating. And, it can really start to make you doubt if you can actually do it. So it's a journey. But I think if you wrote a book, once you publish it, it's well worth it.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I love that you self-published. That was going to be my next question, and that leads
Mhm.
so perfectly. So, did you always want to self-publish, or were you going to try to do a different route in the beginning and then decided at some point? You mentioned that the intimacy was too much for the Harlequin book series and those types of things. So, was that always your goal?
It was when I was younger because I used to read silhouette romances all the time. So that was my goal, was to get published, in a Harlequin or silhouette. And since then, they did do different series like Desire and Blaze and a whole bunch of other ones. But then when I picked this back up again, I'm going to be 60 this year. And I thought, when you go to traditional publishing, there's nothing wrong with it, but you have to have the query letters. You got to sometimes find a literary agent. Then they have to give it to you. Write so many letters to so many traditional publishing companies, see if they'll even accept you. And I just thought, everybody I spoke to said it could take 3 to 5 years. And I thought, I'm going to be 60. I don't know that I have 3 to 5 years with all these stories that are floating around in my head. So I went the self publishing. But I would say to someone, if you're young and that's really what you want to do, then do it traditionally, try it traditionally, because once you self-publish, it's very hard to go back. You might be able to do a hybrid printer, but it is hard to go back. So if you're young and you have the time, and if I had done this 30 years ago, I probably would have tried traditional.
Yeah.
But I just felt like it's not like I'm sick or anything, but I just felt like, more of my life has already passed. So,
And your output really doesn't match the traditional model, truly. Like you publishing
right.
a book every 3 months,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the power that you have to keep your
Yes.
agency, keep your creative power.
Mhm.
And you mentioned earlier your original thought was, design. So
Yeah.
I wonder, does that play a factor into your books? Do you get to design some of your elements?
It is, and I think that's part of what another reason I went self-publishing is
Mhm.
because I don't change my characters. Nobody's going to change their names. I do my own cover designs. I do my own formatting because I know how to do it. So it really, to give that, I guess you could say I'm a perfectionist. To give that over to somebody else is difficult. So I was kind of glad that I was able to keep it myself and then just work on it. And in the same respect, if something goes wrong, well, then that's on me. But that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and if
You
something
know?
goes wrong, you can fix it. You own all your
Right.
files, you know exactly where they
Yes.
are. And if some like we all the time someone will tell me like, "Oh, I have an error on my cover." And it's like, "Well, if you
Yeah.
owned it, it would take you 3 minutes to fix that."
Yeah. But if you don't own it, you got to pay somebody at least $100 to fix it.
Yeah. And
So,
there's walls, all these walls of
yes.
some I got to tell this person and they're going to tell that person and then I got
Mm.
to pay this person and it's time and walls. And so I
Yeah.
think that yes, I agree that the traditional model has like so many benefits to it,
Yes.
mostly distribution. That's your biggest benefit is distribution because you lose out
Yes.
on everything else. But with you and your creativity, it
Hmm.
just seems like a very natural path to have your own imprint. I think that's very
Yeah.
empowering.
The hardest part is the marketing, getting your book out there. That is the most difficult part. But I have heard that some traditional companies now are asking the authors to do their own marketing as well. So right there, it, kind of washes out. But that is my hardest because and the funny thing is that as a graphic designer, I worked at an ad agency. I know how to market. It's like the carpenter who won't build a shelf at home, but he'll build a million shelves for everybody else, right? But never has time to build it for themselves. So it's kind of the same thing. I find that I really have to stop writing and then try to focus on the marketing. But I mean, it's a work in progress, and at least I have a backlist now. And I mean, there's different things that I try to work on and get out there. So I guess we'll see. But what's cute is you were talking about I do my own formatting. So in the new book, the clean one, there's a cat in there that I call Raven because I have a black cat and my daughter has a black cat. Hers is female, mine's male. And so I called this little cat Raven, and the little cat's kind of, sassy. But the greatest part is I'm going to put him at the very bottom and I'm going to animate him playing with the page number. So when you flip the book, you'll see little Raven, playing around with a page number. So those are the things I find fun. Like that's where I can add my graphic design into my writing. So,
That is so
yeah.
cute. And yeah, if you gave that book to a traditional publisher and you said that, they would be like, no, because it's too much work, too much money, too much time to invest. And who's going to care, right? We care.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
readers, the people who are real book
Yeah.
nerds, they get
But
it and they
it
care.
would cost me a fortune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd pay for every page you did it on,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay, so I want to ask, where can everyone find you and where can everyone find your books?
So I'm on Amazon. I'm also on Ingram Sparks. I know that Ingram Sparks really delivers more towards bookstores. Like if you're a bookstore, you can purchase, but I'm on Amazon. All my books are up there. And then I do some book signings. I have one in St. Augustine this Saturday from 1 to 4 at Midnight Moon Books. I do have one there. But and sometimes and I'll go to like 1 or 2 conferences a year, but Amazon is really the best place to order them. And then if you sign up and say that you want to follow me, then you'll get updates every time I have another book ready to go.
I love that. I love following the authors on Amazon. And then every like week or so, I get these emails in my inbox, like something new is coming from, Neri Lopez. And then do you have a website and social media?
I do. My Facebook, so my Facebook and my Instagram are all Neri Lopez author. And then my website is nerilopez.com. And it'll read because originally when I did this, I also do craft shows and I crochet and I have craft shows. So I kind of did the big company and then the books are separate. So the company is called Siren Book and Craft because Neri's backwards is Siren. So that's why I chose that name.
That's
And yeah, so I was like, I wanted to kind of tie it all together. And my full name, Nareda, means the Greek mermaids, the Nereids. So it just kind of pulled everything together. And so when you go to nerilopez.com, it'll redirect you to a Siren Book and Craft, but it's still me. It's just that's the parent company. But yeah, I have that website. You can sign up for my newsletter. And now I'm sending them out once a month only because I just got these 2 new puppies and I'm potty training. But it's actually my cats have taken over and they're the ones writing the newsletter. So Salem and Sabrina have taken over the newsletter.
that is so
So
cute. And it leads perfectly to your marketing for the Raven cat in the book. So you
yeah,
are doing great on your
yeah.
marketing. So I
I'm
just have one
trying.
last question for you,
Yes.
and that is, if you have any inspiration for my audience, they're female authors, they're first timers, they haven't gotten that first book out yet, and they just need a little push off the ledge. And I wonder if you have any encouragement for them.
I would say just, do it. Make sure that it's been edited. Make sure you've double checked it because there are so many readers that, and I'll tell you, even traditional publishing, I find typos all the time. So don't sit there and you can look at a manuscript for 30 years and still find something wrong with it. But get it to where, have somebody read it and then just get it out there. If you're interested in self publishing, go through Amazon. I use Atticus, but you can use any program. There's Vellum, there's a whole bunch, but you need to get it out there because you need to get your voice out there because whatever you have is going to be something that somebody's going to want to read. And see if you can find a group of other authors that would like to do a writing sprint, or if you're interested, you can email me through my website and we'll start a writing sprint, and we'll do it at night, during the day, whenever you want. But you got to get it out there because you're going to feel so special when you have that. This was my first one. When you have your first book come out, it actually won an award. When you have your first book come out and you have it in print and you're looking at it, it's that sense of joy that just fills your heart. And you're going to be so glad that you did it.
Oh, yes. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Neri. And thank you for hanging out with me for a little
Thank
bit,
you.
answering my questions. I just had a blast.
Thank you. That was awesome, Sharissa. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on another episode for Project Seed Money. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And I will see you with another interview next week. Bye.